Welcome to the Merging Life and Money Show, the podcast that is dedicated to helping professional women achieve financial wellness by merging the emotional and practical side of money. And with March being Women's International Month, I am excited to announce a special 5-part series relating to this year's theme, which is celebrating women who tell our stories. So I will be highlighting women who have blazed their path and are telling the stories of others along the way. From female entrepreneur to community activist, I will explore where financial wellness and storytelling intersect and how we can all learn from these incredible women. So if you are a high professional woman who wants to achieve financial wellness while celebrating the stories of inspiring women, then the Merging Life and Money Show is for you. So join me for this special series and let's make this Women International Month one to remember. Welcome to the Merging Life and Money Show. Today's topic is one that I am approaching with both wonder and excitement. It is about women in podcasting. On one hand, we have seen incredible growth in the number of women-led podcasts in recent years, with some talented and inspiring women breaking through and achieving great success. But on the other hand, there are still so many challenges and obstacles that women face in this industry. So before I get into it, let me introduce myself. So if we are meeting for the first time, I am Marie-Jo César, a money mentor, a financial wellness strategist, and also your host. Every Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, please tune in for a live broadcast with yours truly. I am here to give you the tools, techniques, and inspiration you need to achieve financial wellness and live your life with means and meaning. Thank you for joining in today. So grab a pen and a notebook as you may want to take some notes, share them, discuss them, and talk about them with family members, friends, co-workers, neighbors, and more. So if you are listening on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or any other major podcast platform, I welcome you. I am glad you joined in today. So let's get going. Why is it important to talk about women in podcasting? For starters, women are making wave in the podcasting industry, with nearly half of all listeners being female. So it makes sense that we should also be a significant part of the podcasting industry. But unfortunately, that's not always the case. Women's presence is still not felt as much as one might expect, given those numbers. There remain considerable challenges, such as lack of recognition and acknowledgement and outright sexism, which continue to hold them back from reaching their full potential. And when you consider the fact that podcasting is still a relatively new medium with so much potential for growth and innovation, it becomes even more important to ensure that women have an equal seat at the table. Podcasting is the wave of the future, and we need to get on board. So if you're a podcast fan or thinking about becoming one, now is your chance to join in shaping this incredible new world. So let's get into it. In today's episode, I will be discussing women in podcasting and the importance of creating a more equitable industry. I will be looking at the inspiring history of women in podcasting, from trailblazing pioneers to current powerhouses. I will explore the challenges facing female podcasters and discuss strategies for creating change. And I will be recognizing and celebrating the brilliant work of women in podcasting today. So let's look at the first point of today's show, the history of women in podcasting. So when it comes to women in podcasting, it is important to acknowledge the pioneer who helped pave the way for the rest of us. In the early days, when podcasting was still relatively unknown and untested, a few brave women took their chance on this new platform. While podcasting is a relatively new industry, women have been involved in the space since its inception. One of the earliest female podcasters was Amber MacArthur, who started podcasting in 2004. She was a pioneer in the industry and paved the way for other female podcasters to follow. Other early female podcasters include Liz Dolan and Gina Trapani and Molly Wood. When we think of podcasting, it is easy to invoke images of the present day. But have you ever wondered who helped create this powerful medium? Women like Leah Tho were some of the first pioneers in 2011 with her intimate storytelling style featured on Strangers. And fast forward a few years later, when Phoebe Judge co-hosted one of today's most beloved true crime podcasts titled Criminals. Jessica William and Phoebe Robinson are making waves with their award-winning podcast, Two Dope Queens, one of the most popular podcasts around since its launch back in 2016. Luvi Ajayi-Jones, the host of Professional Troublemaker, a podcast that encourages listeners to live fully and make an impact worth remembering, and Brené Brown, revolutionary woman in the world of psychology and self-help. So with their boldness and creativity, leading them forward as beacons for podcasters everywhere, these women show us that anything is possible with enough passion behind our ideas. These early female podcasters had a tremendous influence on the industry, helping to shape and grow the podcasting space. Their work helped to create a platform for other women to share their stories and perspective. These are just a few examples of the amazing women who helped shape the early days of podcasting. Let's look at how the medium has evolved since then. Podcasting has transformed from an intimate, do-it-yourself form of radio to a powerful industry that allows us to hear voices and perspectives far too often forgotten. Women in podcasting have embraced the opportunity like never before, creating stories for audiences around the globe and giving them content directly tailored to their lives. From comedy to true crime, politics, or pop culture, female-led podcasts are on the rise. Additionally, we have seen more women behind the scenes producing and directing podcasts, as well as leading the charge in terms of marketing and promotion. And even though women have come a long way in podcasting, there is still work to be done. For example, women of color, LGBTQ plus women, are still marginalized despite their impact on this growing industry. The playing field must be leveled, not only for recognition, but also in compensation, if true equality is ever to take root within podcasts. We must continue and strive toward a more inclusive space that celebrates all voices, stories, and perspectives without discrimination or prejudice. I will also add that women are thriving in podcasting thanks to a handful of trailblazers who push forward despising, and I named them before. I'm talking about Amber MacArthur, Liz Dolan, Gina Trapani, and Molly Wood, whom I mentioned, as I said a few moments ago, were brave enough to create their own space back when women's voices seemed neglected or unheard. So by establishing themselves as influencers on platforms like iTunes and Stitcher's Radio, they transform barriers into bridges, allowing subsequent generation of female podcasters access to an industry that has been historically off limits. Today, these pioneers have produced a strong community of inspiring creatives with knowledge sharing at its core, each one committed to offering something different than what has come before them, whilst challenging conventions along the way. It is without a doubt that we owe much gratitude for recognizing how female podcasters have truly come transforming this underrepresented form of media beyond measure by elevating conversation worldwide across every genre imaginable. This leads me to the second point, the challenges women face in podcasting. Women in podcasting face unique challenges that affect both their representation and credibility. And despite comprising over half of our listeners, women only make up a teeny fraction of hosts and creators, due largely to unconscious bias, which has kept them from being seen as authoritative figures or lending opportunities for far too long. This systemic inequality hints a deeper problem throughout the industry, making it harder than ever before for female voices to be heard loudly and confidently. The first one that comes to mind is the gender gap. Women has made enormous strides in podcasting, yet there is still an unfortunate gender gap. And as mentioned a few months ago, just a fraction of the top 100 podcasts are hosted by women, which decreases even further for other marginalized groups. So this issue often stems from unequal access to opportunities as gatekeepers continue to make decisions based on conscious and unconscious bias. And for those who manage to launch their own shows, challenges arise when it comes to the time for promotion, for visibility, and monetization, leaving many silenced stories unheard. Another factor is a persistent stereotype that podcasting is a male-dominated space. Despite the progress made in gender equality, women still face an uphill battle to be respected as podcasters. This imbalance also makes it difficult for them to find a network of like-minded creators with whom they could form meaningful connections and learn from each other's experiences. So, what can be done to close a gender gap in podcasting? In my opinion, there are numerous ways to do so, from inviting more female hosts or guests onto podcasts, collaborating with existing female podcasters, giving them equal opportunities for pay and recognition, even creating an environment that is friendly toward diversity. Together, we can create space for those voices unheard, as it's about time they had their moment take center stage. Also, by amplifying their voices, we can make sure everyone feels equal in this industry and have an opportunity to shine. Additionally, we must hold those with gatekeeping power accountable for creating more opportunities for diversity on our airwaves, simply because it is not a male-dominated space anymore. And although women-led podcasts have been pushing creative boundaries and delivering revolutionary content, too often they fly under the radar when compared to their male counterparts. Therefore, we must take a stand for equity in podcasting by recognizing talented female podcasters, as well as creating more opportunities for them within the industry. Because as far as I know, equal work should always be met with equal pay so that everyone can benefit from this incredible medium. So I've talked about the challenges that women face in podcasting, but what can we do about it? How can we overcome this obstacle and create a more level playing field for women in the industry? Here are a few ideas. One, support. We could support women-led podcasts by listening to and sharing the work of women podcasters. We can help increase their visibility. Connect with other women in the industry, because building a community of female podcasters can be a great way to find support, share resources, and collaborate on projects. 3, take advantage of resources and training programs. There are many organizations and programs out there that are specifically designed to support women in podcasting, from training courses to mentorship programs to funding opportunities. 4, advocate for change within the industry. By speaking out against bias and discrimination and pushing for greater representation and recognition of women in podcasting, we can help create a more equitable and inclusive industry for everyone. So I will end this point by saying that even though women podcasting has come a long way, there is still work to be done. Women of color and women who identify as LGBTQ+ are left out on this growing industry, even though they have a lot to offer. Now, I would like to hone in on a critical issue with regards to podcasting: diversity and its importance. We know that incredible progress has been made by women within this field, inspiring countless others around them too. However, real representation necessitates an industry open to all voices and views, which is something podcasts are still striving towards. Let's discuss why cultivating diverse perspective matters so much for podcasting. Podcasting have both a moral and business imperative to foster diversity. Excuse me. Not only does it create an environment of fresh ideas, dynamic perspective, and vibrant industry energy, but importantly, for building a fairer future where we can better understand each other by giving voice to groups that are not usually heard. Now, how do we ensure that podcasting is truly diverse and inclusive? To create a more equitable and diverse podcasting industry, we need to take some proactive steps. First, we need to open our ears and mind, making sure that the stories of underrepresented communities are heard loud by actively engaging with them. Second, we must dedicate ourselves to creating opportunities for these voices. This can be done through effective mentoring platforms, offering funding, or providing greater visibility to foster success within all walks of life. Third, we must challenge bias, discrimination, and any inequitable behavior we encounter. And only then can we create the kind of environment everyone deserves and truly reflects the richness and diversity of the world around us. In the final analysis, while it is clear that we have made progress in giving women a voice through podcasting, it must be acknowledged that not all female voices are heard equally. Women of color, and I'm saying that again, LGBTQ+ women and differently able people face unique struggle to enter the industry, from gaining visibility to building an audience base or simply having their perspective represented. So it is crucial for us as listeners and creators alike to listen consciously to how to support for those trying to get into that space with underrepresented stories being told. So this will help ensure everyone has access to creating podcasts where every story matters. Women as well as individuals with disabilities are often faced with unique barriers and discrimination when it comes to podcasting, from finding safe recording spaces that accommodate their identities or physical needs to the time-consuming production process involved. That I can tell you. We must all realize that just acknowledging these difficulties is not enough anymore. We need more actionable steps for podcasting opportunities to be accessible, to be equitable, and to be truly inclusive all around. That means creating mentorship programs specifically geared toward marginalized communities. That means providing greater funding accessibility options so voices can be heard without limits or financial limitations, and amplifying existing works from diverse talent, which underrepresented groups have created but may go unnoticed due to a general lack of spotlight on those stories. I maintain that podcasters have the potential to create a more inclusive and welcoming community just by being intentional about representation and just by listening and learning from underrepresented communities and by creating safe and inclusive space and also by amplifying underrepresented voices. I promise you, by following these steps, we can work toward building an equitable podcasting industry that reflects the world around us. Now, let's talk about the third and final point for today's show. I would like to take a special moment to recognize and celebrate the brilliant work of women in podcasting today. I'm going to highlight some of the most impressive and unique podcasts-led women, in my opinion, and I will explore what makes them stand out and why they are so special, and there are a lot of them. From inspiring conversations to engaging topics, some incredible women are paving the way. Think of them as thought leaders in sound. So listen up for just a few examples across various genres. My favorite murder is a true crime podcast hosted by Karen Gilcariff and Georgia Hardstock. It was launched in 2016 and has become increasingly popular. These two ladies combine empathy and respect for victims while narrating the true stories. Call Your Girlfriend, hosted by Aminatu Sow and Anne Friedman. It is a long-distance bestie podcast where topic ranges from politics to culture with an emphasis on women and marginalized voices. Death, Sex, and Money is another one, hosted by Anna Sale. It holds candid conversation with guests about life's biggest question. I must add that Anna has an aptitude for drawing out her guest stories in compelling ways. Mom Never Told You is a podcast hosted by Annie Reese and Samantha McVie. It explores a variety of topics related to women's experience, such as reproductive health, workplace issues, and pop culture. And the hosts have a lighthearted and easy to understand approach to discussing complex topics. Last and certainly not least, Unlocking Us, a podcast hosted by best-selling author and researcher Brené Brown, focuses on topics such as vulnerability, courage, and empathy through interviews with various people. She has cultivated a large fan base due to her compassionate and insightful approach to her work and has become recognized as one of the most inspiring voices in podcasting. And these are just a few of the many great podcasts that are ran by women. Trust me, whether you are into true crime, personal growth, or anything in between, you will find a woman led podcast out there that will capture your interest and keep you coming back for more. So, the next question is, what makes these podcasts so successful? While there is no one size fits all answer to the question, I would say that women led podcasts are a powerful platform for genuine storytelling and dialogue. They often stand out thanks to their authenticity, their unique perspective, their great storytelling, and their sense of community. These elements come together to create engaging content that resonates with listeners, building a dedicated and passionate fan base for the podcast. And with the right combination of these factors, women led podcasts can have long term success and make an impact in the industry. I would also add that women led podcasts have positioned themselves as a go to source for unique content and captivating storytelling. Their vibrant and inclusive community creates a safe space where everyone feels heard, fostering an engaged listener base that keep returning time after time to hear more of their favorite host. Through strong narrative skills, engaging conversation, and suspenseful drama, these trailblazers are transforming the podcasting culture for the better. And by honoring the incredible efforts of women content creators in podcasting, we are not only broadening and diversifying our storytelling platform, but also ushering in a brighter future. So, Women's History Month is an opportunity to recognize these amazing ladies who have dedicated themselves to telling authentic stories that shape cultures and touch hearts everywhere. Let us take this time to celebrate their inspiring work. That brings us to the end of our episode on women in podcasting. I covered a lot of ground today, so let's wrap it up and recap some of the key points. I looked at the inspiring history of women in podcasting. I explored the challenges facing female podcasters, discussed strategy for creating changes, and I recognized and celebrated the brilliant work of women in podcasting today. So let's work together to build a more vibrant and equitable podcasting industry for everyone. We can also support women-led podcasts by subscribing, leaving reviews, or sharing favorite episode on social media. And before signing off, with 105 episodes under my belt, I would like to share some key steps with any woman who want to start their podcast. Find a focus or a niche. Invest in quality equipment and create a plan. Practice your skills. Be consistent with a publishing schedule. Commit to it. And promote your podcast through social media, networking with other podcasters, and possibly paid advertising if you can afford it. And with dedication and effort, you can make your voice heard in the world of podcasting. This is all I have for you today. And as you know, I like to end my show with inspiring words, and here they are. Women have always been storytellers, and podcasting is just another platform for us to share our unique perspectives and experiences with the world. This brings us to the end of today's Merging Life and Money episode. I hope you enjoyed today's show, and I highly recommend that you watch the replay and share it with others. So don't miss out next week and weekly dose of motivation as I help empower you to take control of your finances from the inside out and create a purposeful life with the money you have. So join me next week, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Atlantic Time, and noon Friday, Brisbane, Australia time. Thank you for being here today on the Merging Life and Money Show. Sorry, I have a cold. I am your host, Mary Jo Caesar. I will be back again next week. Until then, continue merging life and money. Bye for now.